Artist Seak Claus Winkler. This video is an art performance as well as a piece of art and part of my long-term, lifelong art performance. This video is about my different thoughts or perspectives or mindsets in art and life during the ages or during at different ages in my life. Please consider when you're watching this that your thoughts and my thoughts are steered behind what's in the background, and I have no clue in which direction it is steered. The video is, as most or all of my videos are freestyle. I mean, I did a few videos also with those teleprompter things in the beginning, or a few weeks or months ago, but I'm doing it freestyle, so it's more honest or real, or how you want. Similar also how I'm painting my paintings. Planlos, I don't know, planless. So let's start in the middle. I thought society owed me something when I was the last 20 years or longer painting here in my studio, watching outside on the street. And I was pretty self-righteous in a way. And I thought that, they owe me something in terms of they should give me money, materials, etc. And they are ignorant for not doing that because I'm doing art. The reason maybe why this is maybe also the word Claus, where a word where also I'm identifying with, means also out of something or off on, as well as it's almost the same letters as the German word for house. When I'm looking outside a house, it's like I'm like always like also connected with the outside as well as the inside. Plus, I'm painted also a lot outside on walls. So, and plus I'm also painting inside houses or my house, So there's like a connection with the greater good or the people or the greater common or consciousness, the universe, and how everything is connected, ripple effect, la-di-da. So looking outside a house is also in a way I'm looking outside of I'm sitting in my mind. This is also like a building, and I'm looking outside the windows. Those are the windows. And I'm looking, literally in outside the house, as well as in the same moment I'm looking outside myself into the house I'm in, whereas there's also art and objects which technically can be like humans, So I have like a different perception on reality. So like everybody has, So that was a perception. And I had people also supporting me. That happened because I had like newspaper article that I collect donated colors or paint. Which then people supported me, but there were just a few people who did that. I mean, it would be like a lot of people read those articles here where I'm living, but in the end of the day, it was just a few people who donated stuff and put that in my door, That was also where I didn't know that you can steer or manipulate via forms or little things people in doing something. Manipulation is such a bad or evil or negative connotated word, or you can, it's like steering people. It's same like housewives when they're at inside the house. It's called Stehrümchen in Germany. It's like those little things like women decorate the house with, and they literally steer the whole family with that, and the family doesn't know that the things happening in their life are steered by the woman who is just rearranging everything inside the house, and nobody's noticing that. And they don't even noticing that, maybe not by themselves, because they're ninjas without knowing that they're ninjas. Or they do know, I don't know. I touched my ear, so am I lying or not lying? So my perception on art and my mindset on people and society and doing the different ages. Yeah, I mean, drawing, sketching, zeichnen, malen, if you will. Malen means painting and drawing means sketching or zeichnen. Is something I'm doing since early childhood. I wouldn't call it like zeichnen, because zeichnen is also like, it's like also technical, drawing. So I wouldn't have called it that name. Probably I would say malen. It's also more childlike. Everybody, all children are drawing or painting or malen. I'm having the W in my name, Winkler, and I reckon that the W is an upside down M. And it's also used in advertisement to activate or to work with energies, like brands are using this. I'm just saying also the thing with the brands here. So if you're on that empathy frequency and it's like, what he's talking about, blah, 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 the conspiracy theorist, a word from the CIA, for John F. Kennedy, because he was against the story. So yeah, this is my observations. When I want to win an argument on my observations, I'm using words for examples I also observed in advertisements, because they don't care about what some NPCs are saying, because they want to make money, so they're using it. They're using all the tricks and color combinations and everything. But why I should discuss people about knowledge? I want to learn something too, and yeah. So I'm making myself here interesting as an artist, or giving an inside view how I thought. So for me, like drawing and malen, it's lost entertainment, escapism. Yeah, it's like I can eject the real world, the world around me, be in my creative world and create something while being in that world. I'm like 5 years old and painting like a steamboat, underwater steamboat ship, which can do this and that, la-di-da-di-da. It's much more interesting than sitting here and reading like a comic book, or I don't know, or it's more intense, more stimulating, more. Plus, I don't have to follow any rules. Also, maybe I don't know. On this floor, in the other room, on the other side of the house, it was like a little childhood stable, with those bars, and that at some point I must have been like very silent. And then when children are silent, parents should be alarmed. It's like and DEFCON 3, or and then my mom came, and then I was like digging a hole through the wallpaper into the wall, and being like working. So yeah, and I have memories on that, and that someone interrupted me from there. So there's like, I was sitting here after I was walking through with my mom, going for shopping here in this neighborhood, and sitting in the thing in my trolley, my childhood trolley, or I think also, I don't know if I was already sitting. I think that was trolley. I wasn't sitting in the backside of the bike, and then watching the people, the construction workers. And like working in the streets, and then we were here at inside the house on this floor, in the back into the direction of the garden. There was a table. I still have that table, but now it's painted. My ex painted on it, and I was there. I was there then sitting and saying, "Mama, bau ein Haus," So. And I was also painting then, and drawing, I think. Mama bau ein Haus means like mama building, or build, or construct. And then house means house. But it's also double meaning, you know. It's like bow is like to bow in English, you know. And my mom just had me as a child. There was no other child, so the house has it's like a certain connotation. And my mom told me before she died, I was the best thing she ever did. Yeah. Painting, drawing. In the 90s, when I was in that hip hop scene, on the graph scene, was very, I mean, I was on all these jams, hip hop jams, but I was very early also listening to all kinds of other music. And then at a certain time, it was just about, okay, you valued which rapper or music group was on the event to have a feeling or how the quality of the event will be. But the major thing was which graffiti writers were there. That was then the real way how to judge what kind of impact that thing has and how important it is. And then it was directly like this was the thing. But of course, you know, like the other rap groups and breakdance groups and DJs and who's like has this kind of level and importance, la-di-da. But the major thing was, of course, the other graffiti writers. And that was the only thing you had like energy for. The rest was then sideshow in a way. Plus the rappers became also, but we completely never thought about that. They all became money for it, and we didn't become money. We just became spray cans and the accommodation. I mean, like, but I would say that the rappers went into hotels, and we probably mostly slept in youth hostels or like in a group room or something, or at the organizers, la di da. Usually the jams were organized also from other graffiti writers. It was like a real scene, if you will. And you felt like you're part of an elitist thing, and that elite, like, it's like elitist. Yeah, and it was like completely indulged by the graph and the hip hop scene. Yeah. And there was like one time they were like someone like, there's a rumor that you had like the Reichskriegsflag, the Reichskriegsfahne in your room as a child. And it was like, yeah, what's the problem? There's no Swazi on it or something. And it was like, I don't know. I remember a conversation with another graffiti writer. It was like, I have to say that probably someone with lots of history knowledge like me, with a national identity, probably wouldn't have joined graffiti. Because when I was in my puberty, I was already sketching in school like comics, my own comics. Still have them. I will probably do a video in the future where I show them, and comic figures and scenes and stuff like that. And then I was on like an urban nationalistic path, you know, like interpreting everything, everything was interest me. And there was like also lots of subcultures and different, urban tribes, you know. So that was like also interesting for me. But for me, it was always important then also when I draw like certain comic figures to integrate, like say, a figure with like a Confederate cap, you know, or iron crosses and stuff like that. Plus I had already a huge history knowledge from when I was a child, which made me feel also superior in terms of my knowledge about things. But I also just had resource to like mainstream history books, or mainstream books from mainstream publishing houses. So it was all like Victor's truth, if you will. But I also knew the word Victor's Truth when I was a child. I mean, I told that already. So I also knew Morgenthau-Plan, and I know I was like ingraining myself with the book Unser Jahrhundert im Bild, Our Centuries in Picture, and I was wrecking patterns and what they were trying to say in between the lines, which I can't say here. I'm sweating here because there's lots of lightning here. And I knew that, and there's probably must be like around when I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, that first the people wake up when times are get more bad. So in a way, maybe I played with starting then in my puberty with graffiti, or becoming interested in that and starting it a little bit. It was interesting. It was something also with painting, part of a group. I was also into Amiga 500 computer game culture and swapping culture with illegal cracked computer games, belonging to a group. And then it's also, and I was like, I liked the aesthetic and the colors and the styles and everything and the letters and how the forms were communicating to me. I think I have to make lots of videos about this to really go into the depth of it, you know. I mean, and then I had to choose between graffiti or more into this right-wing thing, but I was also listening to all kinds of music, from age in my puberty, from all kinds of music, like glam rock, gangster rap, like Ice-T, Original Hustler, but also Endstufe, which is like right-wing skinhead music, as well as Böse Onkels, which isn't really right-wing, but they sold it as a right-wing. But I was reckoning all with 13, 14 that this is not really right-wing. But I didn't know what controlled opposition is and stuff like that. But I also understood that they're trying to sell out and trying to cater to the masses and stuff like that. It's like leading people, the normie people, into becoming West extreme Americans speaking German without being pro-white, you know, like boomers, like the boomers we have now in the US, the majority of the boomers. No, but let's keep it on that level. But I'm trying to give you on each level also of my, from my perception with art, what I thought in politics or in social dynamics. So that's trying to not give you my actual view or perception, so you get like a good historic picture. In the graffiti world, I had like different friends. I had like friends which were like, who never would do any drugs or do something illegal or going to a whorehouse or in a swingers club or doing a threesome, or I called someone up after I had like a one-night stand with a chick from a telephone sex line. It's like, hey, come over, honey favor, I owe you for another thing, where he hooked me up with a chick, and then he sat in his car and drove like really high and, full on substances all through my state of Germany to then in the morning also we make like four thumbs with cowboy hat and our belt buckles with our graffiti names and doing like four thumb with his two chicks there. And and I had like friends who were like that. Of course, I don't know any names, saying names. But I also had like the other part, which they're both like in their fields like kings. but totally different mindset. And the other were like super stifle and conservative and everything. And yeah, different paths in life, completely different mindsets. So like I'm this one friend he lived like I don't know. I don't say where it is. Don't worry. It's like jokes because we checked out that there was like a brothel on the other side of the street, and then we researched, and I was like completely. This is also your self-protection when the lefties are coming and trying to trying to me because I have the wrong opinion. This maybe saves my life, saves my ass. Then we were like watching and we're checking the internet. I was like, they are also doing like natural champagne and scat play, which is like when you hard sports and water sports, and the women offering the service. When we were completely like me and a friend, maybe I was even alone. I was staying at his place, of a graph artist friend's place, and then I was was watching from the top floor down when the working girls they are working, and we're being completely fascinated by that this one woman, for example, then is offering these kind of services, la di da di da. And this one friend was completely like flipping out and couldn't handle that. And we were like making jokes. It's like being part of an artist or being part of art. I can think in all kinds of directions. And don't want to have my thought or my creativity in any case or shape being registered, like, I don't know, but this is like before and after painting, or you stay at friends' places because you want to paint walls together, or you paint like a train. But I was doing like very few trains. So it was like mostly walls, painting on this jam, painting mutual walls together, having visitors from other countries, then visiting with them other friends you have in your country or your area, and then touring with them through Germany, showing them the best spots, and then so they can go home to Australia, to America, to Canada, to Italy, to France, to name a country, to then have a successful trip, and you being like a great host or an ambassador. That was like a constant interaction with others, like also swapping photos. Before there was internet, I had internet. I was like swapping photos, like a postlager card. And then being in magazines was like a huge honor. It was like the achievement. It was like, it's like it's similar with like Elon Musk would now call and say, hey, I don't just want to paint, or buy paints, art. I want to do this, or like Elon Musk is also, I don't know on which side he's standing in terms of being pro-white. So, but anyway, it's just an example. It's the same impact. So this is just an example. Yeah, my thought and mindset in art and painting, I completely absorbed by the graffiti world mindset. And then I reckoned in the late 90s, I thought in some situations, there's like another artist. I was mentioning other artists were like people who dressed bad, had like funny hats, couldn't paint, and be old. That were artists for me, like Künstler. That was my picture of artists. They can't paint, they're old, they wear funny hats or strange hats, and were not dressed well. That was my perception of an artist. While being an artist myself, but I didn't never use that word. I wouldn't, but I also would use the word graffiti artist. I'm throwing up already. It's like mir kommt die Kotze hoch from this thing. You in the graph world, you would also never say, let's spray paint something. It's like if you want to appear in the 90s like an undercover, like a bad undercover cop, you talk like that. It's like hello, my fellow teenagers. Now there's like one famous meme, and you would say like malen. Malen is like the same as like drawing or no, drawing is more like zeichnen, painting. So you say like malen, and you would call yourself and others Maler, painter, which is it's the same talk a classical painting artist like Richter, Rauch, Mese, Baselitz, Lüpertz, Murillo, Carroll, Holbein, Vermeer, Van Gogh, Rembrandt, Winkler, Seak would call themselves. Same term, or same wording. Um, mm, I After they gave me the cultural award prize here from my area, I thought I'm way too conservative. I'm selling out to being too conservative. I must appear more or less like bürgerlich, less from the saturated citizen, burger conform thing, and to compensate that. And I also, maybe because to appear like illegal street enough and gangster enough, because people are, there's a certain lawlessness in graffiti, so it's always good if people respect you or fear you. So okay, let's promote or go more into this whole like drug thing as a narrative, because it also works with I have connotations at my name, which you can also explain on the drug culture. Because, for example, Claus with a C instead of a K. You already have like a cocaine. In Germany, cocaine is written with a K. In English, it's with a C. And then Winkler, it has like, my name has like Claus Winkler as well as C. Claus Winkler can be interpreted on that level. I mean, I can interpret every name on all kinds of levels, or my name, in different political connotations, sexual connotations, pure realization, intellectual, mentally going through layers and realizing things. I mean, like on X amount of, infinitive amount of interpretation levels, all valid, all working, all good, great copywriting or thinking, but all separated from each other and from the same wording. In my term, for example, SEAK. So, yeah, and I used that also then as a shield, and I dipped into that culture, I say from more or less from around 2007 to 2000, and then really in 2007 or 2008 to 2009, like one and a half year, partying and stuff. But that was then after our party culture, on the weekends 3 days awake, and then during the week, recreation, painting, like paint jobs in terms of like commercial jobs, people like art projects where people give me money and have a certain wish, and then I'm making it into an art piece and coming up with my own ideas, and also like doing other stuff than my typical Seak styles. Because I thought like I also have to come up with like sometimes with other things, just to make myself more playing with, like, if I have this or this in my oeuvre, how will this affect me, and that it brings me maybe new collectors and stuff like that. One learning from that was that if I do something, it's directly gets stolen, taken by other people, and they're inspired by it, and it has a huge impact. And then it ripples, has a ripple effect where I'm not benefiting from it. So, which is interesting. It's like the pattern probably other artists also experience. So the best thing is then to just do your own thing, keep on doing persistence in your style, because then obviously people still can steal your style. I mean, that what they do anyways, but still people know where it's from, or you have like a strong brand. Different mindset in art during the ages. I'm now, by the way, 25, or I'm getting 25. Probably one reason why I ended up painting letters is also because my mom painted always on birthdays, like little, or when we had like visitors for a coffee table, you know, or she had her woman with her, like they have like the woman circles, you know. They never had any beef or anything, which was also important for like 30 years or something. Classical, conservative, normal German women, you know, nothing leftist slap anything. Um, um, no, my parents were very tolerant. I mean, but it's like, yeah. And she had like this little card stand, and where everybody would sit, there's like a name in like in like a nice accurate handwriting. Yeah, those are like little things which are inspiring also as a child or youth or in starting puberty. Or I painted something for my mom. I remember that I was inspired by her. So in a way, I'm taking up hints I'm getting from others. Yeah, and then later it becomes my thing. And the word Klaus Winkler suggests that. So, yeah. With the word Seak, it can also go in all kinds of other things, because it also has this like cream pie connotation, or the absence of a cream pie, or the hidden cream pie, or the dissolved cream pie. But I mean, this can go in all kinds of directions. So I can go super deep in analyzing my life and everything, or words, or people, or patterns, and then I can debunk everything on that level, on a word level, how the words within words, the sounds, the letters, the pictures, and that probably goes much deeper down the rabbit hole as people usually want to hear, because it goes beyond their own narrative or explaining levels. I mean, I'm not saying they are not true, but I go deeper and tell them where those thoughts are coming from a totally different perspective, which usually goes beyond their skill level. So usually, I assume then that people don't want to hear that or get very silent, because I completely then deflect their ego investments or show them there's a deeper level. Yeah. So far, no one came up and said, "Hey, great, please more of that. We wanna also grow from that." I don't know. Or, "Hey, that's the reason why I buy your art," or something. Never happened. Maybe I should stop sharing my knowledge here. Anyways, different mindsets, in concern with art. I mean, I could talk for days about this. Let's change the sitting here. During the ages, the different mindsets. Yeah, so this is the cable. During the ages. That's. Wait. Very good. Different mindsets during the ages. Yeah, I mean, it also depends. Silvia would say I have phases. Fat chin here is disgusting. I have phases where I'm focusing on something, just listening to pick up art stuff all the time, 24/7, say late 90s, early 2000s, using all the time the word David D'Angelo. I was listening too much to the audio content from David D'Angelo, W dating, interview with dating gurus, etc. Ross Jeffries was a little bit too complicated. Mystery Method also maybe. Or then, no, it was too complicated. Or then I had the phase after my party phase. I was just making jokes about, substances, and because it also went with my brand, and I thought it's a good idea because it keeps away people without money, and only rich people come to me and buy my art, and I can keep anyone else at bay, because I just want to connect with people who can afford my art and support me and not anything else. And it goes with maybe also deeper levels, because, for example, I reckon then just years later, wait a minute, my grandmother was, after World War I, before World War II, with 16 years of age, she was the summer assistant of the director of the Hauswirtschaftsschule in Kukanese, East Prussia. Kukanese is like a city in a town in East Prussia, as well as and Hauswirtschaftsschule means like householding, how to run a household, and that was on a rural countryside, and she was like so good and everything. I was 16. She was assisting the summer director of the school. So, I mean, she owned that school. A 16-year-old. That's what's up. Everything. She lived on a farm her whole life. I mean, yeah. I mean, those fat cells, but I had those fat cells anyways, Plus my other grandmother was also, my other family tree was also pretty well fed. So, yeah. Anyway, so there is like this Kukanese. So Kuka means also someone who's watching. It's almost like cook-holding. And Kokanese sounds also like Kokanese means like, and Nese sounds almost like a neglecting something, but also like nose. So, and me being like maybe superficial on certain topics, because I should have invested more time asking my parents or my grandparents about East Prussia and about everything, which I did, but often it was also about war and they don't want to talk about it, stuff like that. And my grandfather was, when I became older, was already, there was not so much happening with him anymore mentally, so yeah. Anyways, so I'm like really easily nudgeable with words. Yeah. Which is also the liberalism, Like, for example, everything is turned into the negative. What is good is bad, what's bad is good. What's natural is bad, and what's unnatural is good. I mean, we know where this is coming from, It's anti-whiteness, la-di-da. But this is not here the topic, I also knew that there was like someone like Leon Trotsky, and I was wondering when I started being able reading, because I was watching that book before also, I guess. I remember like how more and more I was then reading the book itself, because the text under the pictures, I was asking myself, why is this guy Leon Trotsky there, and what are Bolshevikis? I mean, also I have like this, the W-E, the W-I in my name, Winkler, so it's kind of like, it's similar. I mean, I was obsessed also with Amiga 500 with graphics, with the aesthetics from computer games. And I would have, if I would have like unlimited like magic powers, I would have created like movable visual paintings with the aesthetics from this half pixel, half like non-pixel realistic aesthetic, would say, from the Amiga 500 games like R-Type 1, R-Type 2, those like games. Those images and those intense colors and everything. So, yeah. That would be like having sex with a real woman while painting analog stuff and with lots of effort trying to achieve the same visual level, but it's, it's like masturbating on a toilet, under stress, and someone is like shaking at the door. Yeah. Different mindset during the ages in my art. Yeah, printing, producing as much as possible. I would say being efficient, I financed myself with spray cans myself. In the 90s, I painted. I started with, in the 90s, in the late 80s, with Isildur. I had Isildur spray cans. Then when I then I had in the 90s, it was Spava, and then I switched from Spava to Belton, which was difficult because with Spava you could paint more detailed. But Belton were the better brand. The paintings became bigger and more powerful. Then later onto Molotov, which was then another level too, but the color range was limited, which was a bit of a shame. And plus I didn't have any context to, or I didn't went deeper in having context to Belton, Kwasny itself, so I would have this Multona spray cans with all this like sophisticated color ranges. While other colleagues of mine had that and also could buy there cheaper, which is like also said at some point, and also became sponsored or better prices from the other brands. So I said at some point also, yeah, okay, fuck it. The game is rigged. Then I'm painting with more on the studio. You know, it's one further reason, because otherwise I'm bleeding financially out. Plus I'm financing myself and the others. Most of my artist colleagues, who at some point was named with all the time, were already longer painting and were longer famous. And when I started painting, or when I started painting, or when I went further into painting, they were already like in a way role models, or then were role models or established. So yeah, mindset, opinion during the ages when I was painting. Yeah, I mean, it's I would say from the 90s till 2010, 10, it was predominantly graffiti mindset, or horizon, also mentally. I don't know. It's a process, or in a way, Banksy kicked us all from our throne, you know, and all from the thought to having a career in art or trying to achieve something, because he schooled us with his populism, humor, easy, simple thing, and then reclaimed the whole graph thing, la-di-da. So the term graph is kind of like then burned. I mean, it was burned before because it was some kind of ghetto to belittle people. So the classical art market can separate them, because the art market itself is rigged. And because just a few people are selected to be like the artist, and the other one are like, but they need some, it's people around for the show, but everybody on that side is like trying to neglect or to like ghettoize, put graffiti or whatever that is in a ghetto, or belittle it or washing it out. So yeah. Different mindset. I mean, I painted a lot with with markers, my details. I mean, the surfaces with spray can, and then the details with markers, as well as a little bit of airbrush. And around 2010, 11, 12 maybe, I started painting also with oil, but then with finger, as well as with textile around the finger, or maybe also a little bit of brushes, to loosen up, because I became sick of those like just painting details with marker, because it was like, it was also like stifling me, because I was painting so much and with so much discipline, and I became an impulse from an artist friend who's like, hey, you should also do something else, and it makes me more loose, or not loose in terms of losing, but more free, and open me up, that I'm getting out of one routine. Yeah, and that helped me a lot also. But then I have like this burden of keep on painting in my style, this typical Seak style. And when you paint like on canvas in terms of like, instead of large on walls, on paper, yeah, at some point I must paint it in details, and I go more and more details, more and more details. So I end up painting with brushes, and it stifles you, because and then have to follow my own rules, or like rules in my rules, which are defined by light and shadow, and some kind of mechanical logic, because I want to have this like spaceship, vehicle, car, tank. I'm going my ear, am I lying? No, like this like aesthetic, or so there is like some kind of logic I must follow, and the details must make sense, and then it takes much more time. Yeah, yeah. Mm. Yeah, in theory, I could now start in a totally different, let's say, in a totally different studio, a totally different oeuvre with totally different techniques, would having fun there, would bloom. But what about all these other paintings here I'm having, which are in my Seek style? I also would must upgrade them to a mastery level, and the day I just have 24 hours. Plus, I also want to have children. Yeah. Um, that work discipline comes from my father, who was an engineer, perfectionist, really like high level, mastermind, doing everything himself, or most of the stuff, like really going beyond, as well as this book Spraycan Art, my aesthetic Anspruch, how I want to have it aesthetically, from the aesthetics. The book Our Century in Picture, with the Waffen-SS, Leibstandarte, Adolf Hitler, the elite unit, and then the look when they're on marching, as well as then the rocket we are building for the Americans after the war. It looked like a V3-ish, but for Americans, but not like the stuff that they went to the moon with, but it's like in between. But you could see that progression already, with the help of the Americans, or the Anglosphere, if you will, technically, and then on the left, not the evil emperor, but Emperor Wilhelm II from Hohenzollern. And it's like you have to check the cover of the book, Unser Jahrhundert im Bild, and it's like building, build, picture, building. I've talked about this in other videos already. So that has like an impact. And knowing also as a child how technically advanced and superior Germans were in building and engineering and inventing and discipline and structure and everything. I mean, but also knowing the other strong points other folks or countries have, and their specific strengths and weaknesses. I mean, like we had like one time I went with two friends who were like, or not friends, but associates or artist friends, people I know from since the early 90s, which acquaintances, colleagues, dear colleagues in spirit, because I don't have any contacts anymore, but we see each other, we're cool, everything, and yeah. We were like in the rural area here, and we had like then a discussion in the train yard if we should with roller paint a whole car, if that's real graffiti, or if we should spray paint it, and it's a matter of money. And we have and then we started rolling it, but we didn't finish that, it's not finished, but it's like just a little bit. But this part was like then running around for like ages. You could see that wagon with that color, because it would have probably been the right choice, because then that's like difficult to buff, or to, buffing means like if you erase the color from the train. So so that's also like graffiti mindset, real stock. Now these days anything goes, stuff which would be like a deadly sin in graffiti in the 90s or maybe in the 80s, um, in terms of being not real and being fake and unauthentic and selling out, is now is became the everyday standard 10, 15 years ago. It would be like a decade before or half decade before, people would be ashamed to do something like that. Like, disgusted, if you will. Um, mm. Not painting with spray cans for a long time and just painting in the studio, playing with all the other with other techniques, had a really negative effect on my psyche, on my mental health, and also on my confidence. Because it's a different confidence if you move the whole body with this like almighty power of painting your name or words which are connected with your ego, with yourself, or with your, if you will, German identity, or white identity, without maybe even recognizing it as such, because it's so deeply ingrained or deep ingrained. Not painting that outside with the spray can, with the form, with that power, with everything, it makes you like becoming smaller and smaller, and it's just like system drone, sheeple, normie, NPC people who are obeying the state and everything and be like, and being like afraid of everything, da-di-da. And we had like conversation with a friend who is like multi-millionaire because of his parents, like like 2 digits, but he is not admitting it, but we both know. I mean, it's just, and we had like a conversation before I was politically waking up, and we had like conversations a lot about that. Like how liberating it is. That was a few years ago, I think maybe 5 or 10 years ago. How liberating it is to then start spray painting with a spray can again, or particularly painting illegal again, And if it's just doing a tag on a outside somewhere, like an illegal tag, and what kind of effect it on the psyche has, and the fascination, what that is doing with yourself and stuff like that, and how crippled and mutilated the modern person or the modern human is without that, and what other people are not having when they're not doing that. I mean, they can maybe have that if they go on a party and drop a pill, which is illegal, but that is also self-destructive, Yeah. Well, for me, it was also good to not paint so much with spray cans for a few years. I mean, I was also painting in the studio with spray cans, but I just had rest cans here, and I just bought new cans. I had new cans when there was like, I had a request for like a paint gig or a paint job, or like a paint job, like someone commercial job. You would say Auftrag, which can also be like someone, I can do what I want, or I'm interpreting something how I want it and making it my own, or anything, It's a matter of how communication. It's just in the end, someone wants something, gives you money, and you can do what you want, or and then from those cans which were left over, usually I bought way too much. I then painted all the other stuff here on the house, which is not the same, because it's more like I'm not like painting here on my house is not the same as I'm painting somewhere like a Seak style, like an SEAK in full glory or in full energy or something. It's not the same. It's different. It's like, I don't know. The house here is like a guinea pig, and painting a Seak style is like you're having a son. But on a social politic, helping the world, or helping white people level, the house here is probably much more significant. It depends. On the other hand, my Seak styles are the cultural deeper value or long-term value I've built up on reputation. I can't show how the house here is painted, because it could be difficult for my YouTube account. I don't know. Depends, maybe I'm over exaggerating it. But you can, if you want to check it out, you can Google the word rechtsextreme Fassade, WDR, means like WDR. WDR is like the local television station here, state television, Bolshevik mindset, like huge organizational apparatus which be fed like state, with like legacy media, like part of the indoctrination problem. And rechtsextrem is like right wing, and Fassade is like clear. It's clear. So it's rechtsextreme Fassade. By the way, the word rechtsextrem is from a word from Leon Trotsky. And he killed like 60 million people, like white people. And Leon Trotsky wasn't white. He was like Ashkenazi. Tiny hats. So yeah, there you go. So I'm learning in this house about starting being able reading, having my first publication was in 1983 in the Kölner Stadtanzeiger, which is like a local newspaper, which has a similar logo, like my handwriting, my tattoo I have from Mr. Cartoon, or which similar aesthetic like the German eagle. I'm having a publication. My first publication is 1983 on the 3rd and 4th of December at the Kinderpost page, the Children Post page, a sea piece, Seak, Claus Winkler, 8, Erftstadt, a sea piece, German ship defending Germany with cannons and shooting, like a sea battle. And then reading also about the Bolsheviks, Leon Trotsky, la-di-da, Our Century in Pictures. And then 40 years or whatever, must be counting now, 1989, 1993, 2003, 2013, 2023. More than 40 years later, they're reporting about me and using the words from Leon Trotsky because I'm trying to defend my people. And they're trying to put the last nail into whitey, 2% of the world population, white women of fertile age. We want to protect the minorities, right? Quote, Handsome Truth, John Minadeo. I recommend you check him out. You should check out his green screen videos, super funny, but he also is doing like very important strategy talks about what's going on in the Anglosphere and what we should do and how we, but it's another story. I quote them also here on the house. But this is like my recent perspective or how it developed, I mean, I would like to, in this video or in the other videos, talk also more about the last 30, 40 years, my perspective, my mindset with my art, so that you get like a full picture, not like, he's like this, I don't want to hear, blah, blah, blah. There's like all kinds of levels, I can talk about how important I was for the development in graffiti and in the transition into street art, though I hate street art or the word street art. Also that maybe a lot of old school artists, like for example Vulcan told me, Vulcan, the POC graffiti king legend Vulcan from New York, respect, he came up with the first legal Hall of Fame wall in New York. He told me in the beginning 2000 years, I'm a has-been as well as him, that's what he said to himself as well as to me. And then he told me that I was leading the graffiti scene in the wrong, I misled the graph scene in the wrong direction. I completely messed them up. And then versaut, he used to say, and which was for me a huge compliment. And he meant it as a critique or disrespect, and he probably is true with that because he had like other visions or other aesthetic thoughts. Everything would develop, Yeah, in a way, I was also like a progressive Bolshevik who just wanted to have success, And it's like, okay, everybody is. If the normies are doing everything right and healthy, let's make it like the tiny hats. And turn everything around, and then generate power out of that, but just on an artistic level. Maybe not knowing that with my art I help to make leftist aka anti-whites, and the people behind them to overplay their cards. Because, yeah, my name is Seak. Claus Winkler can also interpret it on multiple levels in terms of politics and the dynamics which we are having. And no, there is no side in my name preferred or benefits the most or anything, because it goes in all kinds of directions. It depends on your own horizon and how you think it through. But you can also think it in other directions through. It goes vice versa. So, yeah, I mean, I wish it would different, but I would have probably must lie, and even then you could completely debunk that, or it's a matter, So the different mindsets in my art in the different ages, I stick predominantly to other white people, when I was painting somewhere, because when you paint somewhere on a wall, you must be careful that you not get ripped off. So I was always sporting something to be self-protective, but it doesn't mean that white people doesn't rip you off. I mean, it was often enough in situations where other white people were the danger, Also told me. Obviously, when you hang out with white people, then this can happen. People which with much more street gangster credibility, la-di-da. I was just lucky and probably maybe smart, lucky, also prepared with things, like this or other things. Never had to use anything, but yeah, I mean, talk videos also about that. When there were like people from another ethnicity here in Europe, I was always careful, with not ethnicity, but like people from outside of Europe, But I was getting along with everybody. I can also be very diplomatic. And I know a lot about history, so if they try to frame you, I'm like, oh, that this country just announced on the internet they want to attack you too, la-di-da. Okay, so if you know things and you knowledge, is power. I already had a love or an interest for Latin America, like gang culture, gang coolness, fascination, this tribal thing, also with the tattoos and everything, which is like a mixture out of European culture, because the lettering is European, it's knights, it's medieval times. And I was a child, I was completely hooked on the Middle Ages, on knighthood, and then later cowboys, but knights with all the logos and the graphic forms and swords and stuff. So obsessed with that. Yeah. And I was asking my father a few years ago, and it was like, I thought like what's coming up, and he said, Ritter. Yeah. So, and those logos, I mean, they lit the gangs, the Latino gangs in America, and there was like this movie, Blood In, Blood Out was an influence. And of course it has it overlays this like everybody's trying to separate each other and being cool or staying in an heteronormative, natural, productive way or life, while disciplining oneself, while being influenced by the others, and admiring or being affected by the visuals and the triggers. So everything's very contradictive. I mean, the best way for global peace is probably what the global homo, gender, colorful people, I will have to be careful how I say this here, then when they're trying to present themselves from a Russian traditional point of view as super disgusting. That's probably the best you can do for world peace, because people be like, we don't want to fight you. So I have this own theory on World War II, that Germany, with their really brilliant aesthetic, I mean, we won World War I or World War II from an aesthetic point of view, and everybody knows, I mean, forever. That was part of the problem, because it inspired, that those aesthetics inspired the others to fight against us, because that's what they're seeing, you know. It's why, for example, if you see, for example, I'm just giving you like a visual detail, like the RAF, the Royal Air Force, that logos with the cockard, it makes people sleepy and well fed, especially when you see two planes with that logo. It has something to do with the human mind and what we can perceive in the first months of being human, well fed by the mother, la-di-da-di-da, you get like sleepy and comfy and fat, la-di-da, you know. So yeah, we can go deeper, you know, but I thought about, I mean, the original thing was talking about the different mindset I had in the decades, in different phases of my life in terms of art and people. In terms of politics and who's boss and who's controlling the world, I would say asleep till like 2 years ago, but unconsciously I knew it. My endpoint was CIA or something. I don't know, but not really. I mean, that those people are behind it. It's a game changer. And I also learned 4 years ago about the word NPC. But I knew what an NPC was from playing computer games on the Amiga. And where people, yeah, but I'm just telling you this, in case you're like, oh, he's talking just about this. No. But you're just getting my actual perception on the world, because my clients or my collectors, they live in a different reality. This is no disrespect. They are in gated this is my desired or probably realistic people who buy art. They live in gated communities. They have multiple passports. They have multiple houses in multiple countries. They can segregate themselves from everybody. La-di-da-di-da. No, you know. They live also in the reality. Don't worry, you know. I don't want to be like, I must be careful that I'm not driving too much into that they perceive that as ego or that as critique, because when the ego is like thin and it's a balloon, people can't handle it, then they flip out. So, I mean, and then they have those thorns here, everybody. You should maybe get a Claus Winkler painting, come on. I mean, you need one, but I don't know. Well, anyway, so the point is, but I'm living in the reality, you know. I'm having things like this. I'm running around like a medieval knight or like a cowboy or something, you know. Like, this is for a reason. This is reality. So, I mean, I'm not justifying myself here, you know, but anyways. Okay, different mindsets in conjunction with my art. Yeah, painting is like you create like in the room you are, or in the situation you are, your own micro comfort zone escapism world, where you try, of course, depending on your perception. It's not because it was itching here, so it's like lying. Am I lying? No, but you're trying. It's an approach, you know. You and the wall. You're painting a wall outside, or you and the canvas, or you and the drawing, or you are drawing someone into a black book from somebody, or you want the painting. You're blending everything in a way out, more or less. And you have like, and that's like, you create like a flow. You're not thinking about all the other things around you. Of course, you have to be careful, who's in your back when you are outside in the streets, self-security measurements, like watching your back all the time, But I was doing that already like 10, 15, 20 years ago or longer, So, but when you're sitting there, or not but or in the studio, la-di-da, you're forgetting about a lot of things. You're forgetting about the outside world. You're indulging into aesthetics. You have something to do. You create your own world. You're in connection with yourself in a way, maybe, depending on if you listen to an audiobook or not, or to what you are listening, or you are like into some kind of ecstasis, grandiose thing because of certain music, which maybe one song you hear all the time. Yeah, that's like something which it's really fun. But you can also listen to things which are really unpleasant and tell you what's going on in the world right now, all the stuff you shouldn't talk to rich clients because they should buy your work or consume your work, and or at least AI is saying that, that you don't want to hear that. Maybe it's the other way around. You want to have some real talk after you bought the painting, or I don't know. I also want to tell you my paintings because I want to have them and would want to know them, to have them in good hands. It's not just the money. It's also. I'm sweating. It's from the lightning. I have like this is like those things. I have 3 of those, 1 light, and then 3 others plus this here. Yeah. Different mindsets. The last 2 years in terms of painting, or 3 or 4 years here at the house, I see also everything through the lens of what is legal. Knowing that we have a law system which is anti-white, pro-leftist, with personal opinions of attorneys, judges, NGOs, as well as that the judges as well as the attorneys are advised by the state, which is also leftist, anti-white. Plus that they can bend the rules how they want it. And be passive aggressive and play stupid la-di-da-di-da-di-da. So I'm seeing everything through that lens, which is, my mindset is always barriers to benefits. So I see that as something positive. You can grow from that. And also from every attack or anything, because you can debunk the words, the letters, you go deeper, you study the people. Listen to everything. It's all positive. It's all content. It's all. It's also interesting because they are reacting on art, on signal and stuff like that. What are they leaving out? What they're doing on purpose? Where are they doing failures? What have steered them? It's interesting. It's all connected with words, with letters, with meanings. Where other people would, or normies or NPCs or boomers would be like blah blah blah. So it's also a lesson how to not be narcissistic or too righteous, because you also once slept or didn't want to hear the truth. But also they have like the sharks, the evil people who know exactly what they're doing, I remember I was making jokes in the late 90s, beginning 2000s, that I'm on the safe side because my art is letters, and the religion of peace allows art with letters, but only forbids anything which is naturalistic or representational painted. As a joke, ha ha ha. I mean, it's like this humor of a dying breed, completely frustrated. I don't know, but was it like sarcasm or irony, like super negative, but it's a reality. Um, yeah, but yeah, I'm trying to have the perspective here in this video, um, all facets of what I thought while painting. So I can create while painting like a well-being thing, like a thing where all these reality things are not existing, which is beautiful. Depends on which stage the painting is already, or the drawing, you know. Maybe when in an early stage it doesn't look so good. Maybe that happens at a later stage where I'm already impressed by the painting, or visually seeing I'm reaching a level where I'm surprising myself in a positive way. I'm impressing myself, like creating like a burner, like to have like that next higher level. Um, to yeah, I mean it's also means also to like at what time I had, how confident was my perception on the big large art world, and that everything is in hoax, and to reduce taxes, and it's like a business where the people pretend like we are featuring the best art, la di da, but in truth it's all like completely set up, rigged game and an illusion, similar to the democracy illusion. And how confident I looked through that, and how clear, or how much I trusted my inner voice, what I saw or reckoned said to me. These days I know all this. Yeah. When I was with my parents on holidays somewhere, let's say at the Lake Bodensee, and it was in a restaurant, usually traditional German kitchen. I loved like those like restaurants, like the old post, the old cottage, the old post wagon or something, you know, like some like with a black golden sign, and like old house, and then schnitzel, or like classical German kitchen. And then when I was bored, I was like drawing something, or I was asking for comic books and stuff like that. And I was reading like comics, but it was also like Wild West comics, I remember. And then, yeah, that was like, I always need like visual impact or anything, like feeding myself all the time. In a way, the word Seak, Winkler means I'm getting an energy, I'm getting signals, I'm getting informations, and then I need an off situation, and then I'm digesting that, and maybe I'm digesting that with painting. This is why I'm feeling so close to all these things I'm inspired by or I like visual, but my stuff doesn't look so much like that, which is interesting. You know, I'm talking about this are my influences, blah blah blah, but in the end of the painting, it doesn't look not as much as it could like that. Also because my inability to paint in this or in that direction, I guess. And it's also like I'm painting all this technical stuff, but I'm not creating it out of metal, or I'm not repairing cars or anything. I mean, I can do things practical in theory. I was like 2 years or 3 years in with a practicum and everything, in an energy electronic apprenticeship and stuff like that. Plus practical thinking and everything, but I'm painting all the time and I'm focusing on that. That was like all the time, you know. And the last 26 years, I'm obsessed with this 10,000 hour rule. Or there's like also a 20,000 hour rule. I always knew that when I was painting or drawing, also when I was in my teens, when there was someone better and like more talented. It was obviously like I knew my place in a way, you know. But I then did it with like effort and stuff, and that is stuff for me like to experiment maybe. And I thought maybe I should at some point I should make my weaknesses into my strength, into my style, you know, like barriers to benefits later. Um, I should talk more about maybe the mindset I had in the graph world in the different stages. Hmm. Yeah, it was from, I would say, beginning 2000s on. It was when I talked with other graffiti writers, they said my problem is how to communicate normies, normal rich people, art collectors, how you want to call it, my status in graffiti. And how to do that indirect, because if you do it direct, it kind of like, I don't know, it has less value or has maybe less impact. That's my huge problem or challenge. And that was already 26 years ago. Yeah. And then, and since 2000s, or maybe since the late 90s, I'm hearing I should make a book. I already had meetings with Nike about the book, that they would sponsor it, and that was already also 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, being copying or being inspired, and in graffiti it's called biting from others, and being afraid that one appears too much like I'm biting or someone is biting, then later other people biting from you. It was also a thing. And since, I don't know, the early 2000s, it's more like other people are biting from me or influenced by me in multiple generations. I always financed myself, or tried to finance myself. It was always a hustle. Oh, but I also had the reputation I'm making in the graffiti scene that I'm making a crazy amount of money. And I had like this image of being like a sellout. But it's also a question on how low the perception or the level of the other people are. And everybody needs a bad guy to point the finger at, you know. And the more you do, the more haters or jealousy people you have. I had like all kinds of crazy humors which were around me, or people were talking about me. Like, we could make a video just about that. Like, the latest rumors when I was like, it's ridiculous. It's not. They are not in the field of. This then came from the graph scene. Um, it's not legal anymore on the other side, but it's also funny and ridiculous, which is like maybe. It's like maybe the Seak, Claus, Winkler effect. They're doing it on purpose too much to make themselves look kind of know. Nobody is like ever. Anyways. Mm. Mm. The art world. There's so many directions I would love painting, you know, but I also must continue painting the paintings I'm having here in my rotation. It creates like, yeah. The limitation is that must do everything. At some point, if I have more, I don't know, success or anything, I probably can't do those videos anymore, or I have to come up with a more efficient thing. I don't know, I'm touching my ear, because it all takes time and energy, but it's also good for journaling in a way. I don't know. The question is also for which society I'm painting all these paintings, you know. I completely forgot that they are that while people are gone, you have to turn the tide, but at the moment, different mindsets with people and with art. Yeah, huge thing was like completely like all these like wallpapers. I would say in the 90s, beginning 2000s to 2010, or maybe 2007, it was all via the art, the writer, the graph scene lens. But or maybe till 2005, to like those last group exhibitions, la di da. Or also that horizon. A good filter is just letting in people who have the same political. I mean, these days I would say also with the political opinion, because I have woken up. That was like I started having that mindset. I would say maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Consciously, as well as and before that, the filter was also people must give me money, must buy something. For everything else, no time. Because everything else is blah blah blah. Or people trying to get something but not giving something, you know. So when you have to live from your work, you just allow people who can support you in a way it's substantial, and everything else is like blah, cut it out in terms of because you know how you have to know how to feed yourself while you're not letting that out, and other people probably perceive you as high status, but not knowing that you financially are thinking about counting what you eat every day, not because you're too fat, or that's also, but also like because you can just afford potatoes or noodles, you know. Well, I keep on painting all the time. That's the essential, you know. It was through all these years maxing out every day the efficiency in terms of painting. Like, okay, I have to go from the former living room where I'm painting, my Dutch studio room, to the kitchen to make myself a coffee. On the way, I can paint all the paintings standing around in the house, which I have already positioned there. So every step is efficiently used. I mean, that crazy or that efficient. Painting the backsides on the paintings too. Yeah. Using old underwear cut into pieces as brushes around your fingers or the bare fingers. Yeah, it's in a way to create art which other artists wouldn't create if they may be on an equal fame level, but already have like studios with lots of assistants doing all the work. I mean, this is also a mindset, was a mindset or is a mindset, like, okay, the others have money, they have resources, they have studios, they have different studios, they have different assistants. I'm just observing what the others are doing. They have marketing teams, this, that. They are letting the others, the assistants doing all the work while pretending, blah, blah, blah. What can I do to be more equal or more better or optimized or more efficient, or how can I work against that? Or I mean, which is like, it's a little bit, it's like the pony trail, was it pony trail? The pony against the iron horse, you know. I'm trying, you know, the messenger with the horse against the iron, against the locomotive, steam locomotive in a way, but you know, keep on keeping on. So I'm painting my paintings that you can see I painted them. That there were the absence of assistants or teams doing the work, la-di-da-di-da. While recognizing, okay, rich people are often so fake, not all, but a lot, or those who would present themselves as new rich, and this is not a critique. I mean, I also did like stuff where you would say, come on, you know, and it would be like, you know, so it's all good. Don't worry, it's part of the human experience. So the point is, I'm trying to create my art in a way that I make the best out of every situation, similar to like the Viet Cong or the werewolf fighting against a larger enemy or the larger power. So yeah, doing all this stuff the others can't do or wouldn't do. And you can see it in the paintings. But people who have a negative self-picture, or the picture that they are also like industrial people and do industrial choices, maybe buy then just industrial looking paintings which look like they're in a way mass produced. I'm not going to name any artist names here, other artists I know in the world, and yeah, of course not all, but not necessarily, but most, because there's like all kinds of artists on the art market, so good. Yeah, which means then I should also paint more and do less those videos here. But on the other hand, this is also journaling, you know, and it's also for the future, for other generations. I don't know. Because I'm hungry, I need some food. But I already had breakfast, but I'm still at food. I think I will eat some oatmeal. Yeah, so this is yeah. Hopefully this video was interesting. I probably will do further videos. Yeah, thank you for your attention, thank you for your time, thank you for your support.